Believe it or not, some people find stress not just stimulating, but addicting. A helpful and inclusive definition of addiction is any behavior that you cannot stop that results in destructive consequences. Any behavior could be too much screen time, sex, drinking, gaming, high risk activities that you cannot stop and that results in destructive consequences, destructive to your health, finances, self esteem, etc., can be an addictive pattern of behavior. Keeping that in mind, are you, or perhaps someone you care about, addicted to stress? Do you or they thrive on chaos and conflict? Now, those who live in poverty, violent crime areas, or in war zones obviously don't have the same choices in their lives. So I'm speaking more specifically about someone who is hooked on the adrenaline rush. Maybe you've heard of the type A personality, someone who is highly perfectionistic, non-flexible in their thinking, and always doing 1,000,001 things at a time. These people often struggle with cognitive distortions of perfectionistic all or nothing thinking and a lot of shoulds. I should do this, I should get this accomplished, etc. These are often the high achieving, if not overachieving individuals. This isn't necessarily always a bad thing, but if things are breaking down for you emotionally, physically, and in your relationships, and you can't stop it, you may be headed for trouble. Of course, everyone needs some downtime to rebalance. I'll share more about this in a few moments. But first, are you always running late, always having too much on your plate? Is your so-called quality of life based on your degree of busyness? Is this possibly your self-sabotaging or acting out ticket? As in, do you set this up as an excuse for, well, I would have made a healthier choice, but what can I say? I had too much on my plate, which made it so difficult and hard that I had to take the easy way out. This is what I like to call the all-you-can-eat buffet analogy, where you load up on, stuff up on your plate. Keep loading the roast beef, keep heaping on the meat and the sweet potatoes. Gotta have those sweet potatoes so that your plate swells over with food. Peas starting to dribble out and corn starting to roll off into the ground. Well, I'm starting to lose it here. And then boom, the plate falls over. Steak, peas, and darn it, those sweet potatoes are just everywhere. And then someone might think to themselves, well, what can you do? I guess I had too much on my plate. Well, who put all that stuff there in the first place? It's kind of a setup for failure. This is called all or nothing thinking. So, going back to stress here, have you been doing some of the things I just mentioned? Have your so-called stress solutions, like resorting to unhealthy habits, become actually more of a problem? If you or someone you care about are adjusting to an addiction-free state, your body and mind is adjusting to not getting the neurochemical rush it used to get. For substance users who've especially gone through a chemical withdrawal from the system, this is especially true. Beyond this state of readjustment or withdrawal, there is often the case of more stuff coming up, like relationship issues. And it sounds something like this. Well, now that I've stopped using and distracting and denying myself with my unhealthy habit, I had no idea how crappy my relationship is. Don't worry. For more on this topic, we have an entire module dedicated to relationships. So let me ask you, what are your stressors? What events cause you stress? What are your red lights? How do you know? Where do you feel it in your body? What is the frequency, intensity, and duration of these responses for you? Be mindful that it's important to deal with the yellow light before it becomes overwhelming and a red light. What are some of the things, people, and places that give you energy? What are some of the things, people, and places that drain your energy? These are all important questions to address. And I invite you to take about 10 minutes to write out what some of these are. After all, you're not able to do anything about them until you acknowledge their presence.